Ready?
You woke me up, Mayo.
What you mean the alarm? What did the notification alarm or something go off?
You j- you just said making tea. Wake up, America, in the world, and I woke
Yeah.
up.
Oh, Mazzy. Now it's not even tea. Now it's just water. It's hot
No,
water with
no,
lemon
I got
juice.
coffee. I had to heat up my coffee. I can't believe I'm up at Jesus 5:30 in the morning on the West Coast.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you for being here.
You know, when you're an old man, you wake up early.
No, I don't know that. No, but seriously, no. But I
I'm
always
an
loved.
older man than you are.
Yeah, my grandfather used to get up at 2 a.m. He used to go to bed at 10 o'clock, and he'd wake up at 2, and then he'd go downstairs and I don't know, hang out in the kitchen or something, and then lay on the couch. But I don't like. I'm an early bird, always have been. But I don't like get. Sometimes my eyes, like today, my eyes open at 5 a.m. That's too early, you know. So I went back to sleep. I was able to sleep till 7. 7 is more my time. I would love to get up at 7. I go
Yeah.
to bed around 1, 12:30, 1. 6 hours isn't really enough ideally for sleep, but 1 to 7 would be good for me, or 12 to 7.
I usually get 7 hours, and that's enough. But
Uh,
I don't know what I just woke up early. All this excitement, all this Beatley
well,
stuff.
yeah, and as I say, that's the Golden Book. I don't have that. Yeah,
Six dollars, the best book on the Beatles. I think I want to make a video of just me reading this like a children's hour.
Oh, can I talk about your video a little bit? If you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing. But I do have some nice stuff
Oh,
to
you
say.
could say good, bad, or ugly. I'm like you. I don't mind criticism as long as someone's not an asshole. Excuse me, but you
No,
know
no,
what I
no.
mean.
I got you. It's not the disagreement. People don't understand that. It's not disagreeing. The disagreement. It's being a jerk. There's a
Yeah,
difference.
exactly. I agree. I agree.
You want to encourage disagreement and open debate. No, what I like was I was see I did this thing. I walk in the mall and I find a video or something. So one morning it was your video about you talking about the red and the blue, and I loved how you were starting it out. I loved every how you was. I was getting my anticipation going, and I loved how you presented them. I can't wait till he gets to the actual tracks. But then I thought, I remember one thing, it happens to all of us, happens to me too. I was like, oh, he didn't mention this. Oh, I thought you were going to go a little more. That's all I mean, more detail about things. You were like, I think at one point you said, and for me to you, that's like, and then I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah.
think you lost track. You thought of something else, and
You know
you
what
kind
it
of.
is that the first I did a first round. I don't usually do things over and over again, but I actually put the camera on, and it had me do reactions of every song on the Red album. You know, and I
Mhm.
wasn't going to show the whole like 6 LPs worth of me sitting there because you can't have the music obviously on YouTube. But I just wanted to kind of and I wrote these notes, and I don't usually sit and write notes. And I scribbled these things on, and then I kind
Right,
of
you had
edited.
tons of notes, and I'm like, what happened? You had all those notes.
Yeah,
That's another thing. What
but
happened?
after a while, I didn't want it to go on because with these live streams and like
Yeah,
the people do live streams and they go through it and they go on for 2 3
yeah,
hours,
yeah.
and I get it, but I just didn't want it. It already went 40 minutes, which is long for me. Um, yeah, and there's certain things I missed, and I thought, oh, I should have talked about that record. Like I forgot what now. I can't see. You got to remind me what I didn't talk
I
about.
don't even remember. I
For me
remember
to
that.
you,
I think for me to you was because I thought for me to you was that was I don't love that song, my favorite or
it
anything,
sounded
but
really good.
I thought that was the best I'd ever heard it.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
agree. I remember I loved that because I remember being disappointed with the two opening songs, and I thought, "Oh, what's going on here?" And then all of a sudden, the third song, I don't remember what the third song is. I got to grab my copy.
Yeah.
Um,
I can help you out. I got it here.
yeah, okay. I mean,
But yeah,
oh, for me to you,
that's
for me to you sounded really good. I mean, all of a sudden it opened up, and I got it because the first to me, "Love Me Do," I think is not. I didn't like "Love Me Do," and
well.
please, please.
It's so I take it for what it is because I always look at that. It's the
It's a
mono
needle
record,
drop,
needle
and it's
drop.
just not yeah.
I'm all
And
right with it.
Please Please Me, I was disappointed with,
Yeah,
but
I don't know what I expected out of that, but I don't love the stereo version of that because they get the word botched
mm-mm.
up later.
But actually, I like that one to Hold Your Hand. I mean,
I did.
I'm the generation that's the first thing that I heard. And, you
Yep.
know, I was 9.5 when the Beatles came out, and that really changed my life. One day I was playing Little League and baseball and into the San Francisco Giants. And the next day it was all about the Beatles, you know, after Ed
Yeah, man,
Sullivan.
fantastic. You're very lucky. Yep. But I loved "I Want to Hold Your Hand." I did. And I'm very like critical. I always say, and I don't want to do this dumb impression again. I hate the ones when you listen to Beatles' Greatest. I think that album, the Beatles Germany, or you listen to it and it opens up in this speaker and you hear the beginning. It's very twee. Ding ding
Yeah.
ding 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 ding, and then they sing. The vocals are over there. I want it to be that kind of like attack thing that Paul says, like dun 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 in the center. Dun, dun, and I kind of love the power of it. I just thought it was maybe the best I'd ever heard it. But I'm partial to Meet the
You know,
Beatles.
Woodland in comments says, I get what he's saying. We already got the rain mix last year, but the point is, this is like an overview comp. This is an introduction for,
Right,
in a way, people like Mayo and I really don't need this except for the remixes. I mean, but this is a lot of people, as you know, probably your generation even got into the
right,
Beatles because of these records. So
right,
I think it's going to happen again. And I think Rain is just such an important track, not only sound wise, and because Ringo always says it's his favorite drumming, and it was really a pivotal thing all of a sudden with electronics and the backward stuff. It was a song that should have been on here. But I mean, we all have our favorites that should have been, and maybe I think No Reply should have been on, you know,
yeah. Well,
but
that's it. It's hard to get into that game because I
yeah,
don't want every song being on there. But before I get into Rain, which I agree with you, this is back to the "I'm Carrying" song. He doesn't sing "You're Carrying." He doesn't sing "You're Carrying Something for Me." If he sang "You're Carrying Something for
oh, the
Me,"
McCartney song.
then I would have thought it's a pregnancy. Carrying to me is gifts, presents, flowers. He says, "I'm holding my packages. My carnation is being hidden by the packages. I'm carrying something for you." That's simple enough to me, but it could be like wrong. I could be completely dead wrong. But before I go into that, I want to say about Rain. Yeah, a lot of that's one of the most popular opinions is that Rain was missed. It should have been on there, and I could agree with that. The only thing is, I'm happy to say what you said, and I agree with, is that hopefully this will, and I think it will bring young people into the Beatles. Right? They'll
Yeah,
hear this, and I was thinking that because I listened to the whole Blue album in the car on a long drive, and I'm like, I love the whole damn thing. I want to do my video over because there's things that I forgot or I didn't notice, but overall, dynamically, sound wise, not counting little nuances that are different, but the sound was great. I think young people, get back to the point of Rain, if they listen to this, and I think you're right, I think they're going to get into the Beatles. Because well, how could you not? Say I want to explore this band further. They'll come across Rain, but yeah, that's my point. It should be on there, but I think they'll hear Rain because
You know,
the,
one comment that came up a bunch of times, one of my comments that people, and I just never considered, and it makes total sense, and it seems so obvious. I don't know why I didn't think about it, but
what's that?
they said a lot of young people now, not just young people, but they listen through headphones. They listen through earbuds and
Yes, yes,
headphones on our
it's true.
computers. That's why these mixes make more sense than the left-right pan. And thing is, I'm one that loves psychedelic, and to me, psychedelic should always be stereo. Like when Pepper first came out, I bought Pepper in stereo, and I always hear the stuff we all know. The Beatles intended to be mono. That's the one. That's the version. But I grew up on stereo, and I just like the left to right panning stuff.
Yeah.
But I never considered about it. I don't play headphones anymore unless if I'm traveling
Me
or
either. I
outside.
really don't like to do that when listen to the music.
Yeah. So I get that in a way.
Now see, this is a perfect example. I picked up on that, but sometimes I don't know. You ever think you pick up on something and you say, "Oh, that's my imagination." I don't even like. Man, I heard this yesterday, and
Two seconds.
I thought I noticed more bird sounds at the end. I did that I'd
Well,
never heard before. I thought.
2 seconds.
Listen.
Well, 2 seconds makes sense because I mean, if you hear a lot of times, if you heard a comp, if you had the time on the red or blue versus the version on the actual record, sometimes it's a second or two off because they're fading out differently or earlier or later or whatever. So that's common.
Okay, Mal Evans' book is expected tomorrow. I gotta get that. I have to get that book if they want me
Oh,
to
is it
interview
is it out,
anybody.
out tomorrow? Okay.
I'm not going to be able to read the whole. That's a big looking book. I can't read the whole thing, and I know when we're doing the interview, and it's coming up
Books
fast.
on tape. Walk around the mall listening to the. They probably have a books on tape version.
Okay. But anyway, this thing's and then like Old Brown Shoe. I mean, I was trashing Old Brown Shoe. I think that's the
I
worst.
didn't like that.
Yeah, I think that's the worst. That's the worst. Other than the end of I Am the Walrus, which some people bafflingly, if that's a word, like I Am the Walrus. But the ending, I mean, the radio, when I say the ending, the radio play really is what bothers me.
I'm the Walrus really surprised me too. I mean, as Beatle freaks, it's interesting to hear this alternate version, but
Yeah.
to me, it didn't belong on this. That's something that would belong on Love, not
Oh,
this.
on the Love album. Well,
Because and you're doing different stuff for Love, and that makes sense. But here, you're remixing it, but adding stuff like I don't know. I've been hearing conflicting reports that he added new stuff that he brought over, or there was stuff that George Martin and the Beatles originally put on, and they were somewhere there already. He just brought them in from
yeah,
different. So I don't know what the answer is
which
for
is
that.
possible because you must have heard "Here Comes the Sun," that guitar solo. You ever see the video? There's a video where they're listening to it, or he's listening with Danny Harrison,
Oh yeah,
and there's a guitar solo wasn't used.
right, right.
Well, I still hear not many people have talked about it. I only saw one reviewer in print. I talked about it. Well, Massey's disappeared. Hold on. Can you hear me? Um, Let me say though, Magical Mystery Tour, the song, I definitely heard on the right channel a new quote guitar, or at least it was brought up really loud. I've never heard that before, and one reviewer said it. Oh, out of nowhere, a guitar magically appears that was probably subdued or in the
Yeah,
mix originally.
these are my notes that I did. And
Yeah,
I can hardly read it, but from me to you, I wrote crisp, a nice bass, good. Then I wrote she loves you, muffled, dead vocals. I just wrote little kind of note. I didn't get in deep things. I want to hold your hand. This the guitars are clear, the claps are crisp. Things like that. So I didn't really get into details, but I just wrote
yeah.
like all these pages. It's crazy. Looks like the Unabomber's manifesto.
Where's mine? Or I'm not gonna. I gotta do equal time. Or somebody else's manifesto that they're hiding from everybody. But they leaked out. And they punished the people who leaked it out. But anyway, you know where I'm going with this,
Yeah,
folks. Okay.
totally.
you know. But anyhow, um, yeah, there's like so. Well, see, this is the thing too. People say that, and it's cheating. I call it cheating. Yeah, I listened to "I Am the Walrus" on my earbuds. I was able to pick out King Lear in my right ear. No, no, no. You don't. You shouldn't have to listen to earbuds or headphones to hear it. In my opinion, people review. A lot of people say, "Well, I'm going to review it with the headphones to give it fair stereo separation." Listen, and I'm like, yeah, but you're hearing things that you can't hear on your stereo speaker on your speakers, maybe,
Yeah.
which is not to me. That's kind of cheating. I don't know.
But there's always things in records. I mean, there were things in regular, I can't think of what offhand, but certain things on a Beatles song I didn't hear till maybe 20, 30 years later, and someone pointed it out. And now I can't unhear it. But for some reason, I just didn't notice it all those years.
Yeah, I've heard this before. The out of breath running sound effect is brand new in Walrus. I didn't know what you meant. Anybody meant. I had to go back and listen. When he says, "See how they run," there's like, "See how they fly like Lucy in the Sky." See how they run, yeah, something like that, which supposedly we didn't hear before. And I'm like, one time I picked it up, one time I didn't. So I don't know what the hell. But I mentioned Old Brown Shoe. Let me get back to that because I forgot to say. Yeah, I generally do not like what they did, what he did, or who they did to Old Brown Shoe. However, I heard a lot of wailing away in the back and screaming and whooping it up and yelling from Paul, or I guess, or whoever, that I'd never heard. And if it's there, if it's always been there,
Yeah, I didn't notice it either.
I never heard it before now. But I just happened to be listening to the right volume and the right and I'm like, wow. And it was like, oh, yeah, yeah. So the whole thing especially near the last half of the song. And I'm like, I never heard that before. Is that there are new things in there.
One thing I mentioned, I still like the remixes on Yellow Song, the soundtrack, Yellow Submarine soundtrack,
Yes.
better than these. And I
Yeah.
mentioned one thing that someone pointed out to me, and I heard it. It seemed weird, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but on Nowhere Man, there's a hi hat that sounds like it's offbeat in one
Oh,
channel.
yeah. I heard that before. Somebody said that.
Yeah,
That guitar on Magical Mystery Tour is in the original mix on the left channel.
the
It's got
acoustic guitar.
some kind of chorus or Leslie effect on it. I also didn't hear it before.
There's a nice acoustic guitar on that I've heard.
Yeah, so
Um,
I mean, but I started thinking like it depends on your mood. I played this now. I'm playing this more. The more I play it, I'm thinking I really do. Overall, I like it. I like what they. I'm going to give a thumbs up to the red and the blue overall, which I usually don't love Giles and Martin. And but overall, I think it's good for what it like. To turn new people onto it, for old fans like us to maybe hear a little difference and
well,
dynamic.
one main thing for me is that they've been beating our heads saying the Beatles, all the things up through Pepper, the Beatles intended them always to be mono. Stereo was always secondary. They keep beating a dead horse with that. Now, we can like a stereo, like I like Beatles for sale and stereo over mono. But having said that, you can't walk into a store today and
Mhm.
buy any Beatles mono records unless you find one that's sitting there or used or
Yeah, you got to buy
they,
the
they're not in
box.
print. If they
You
love
can't.
the mono so much, keep them in print.
Yeah, and I'm always a mixed bag. I kind of, I kind, I mean, I don't know. It depends. I say it depends on the track.
Yeah.
I don't know. Certain tracks I prefer in mono. I like Please Please Me better in mono. I know that. She Loves You probably. I was really disappointed. I forget what you said about She Loves You. If you said anything, I was disappointed in it.
I didn't say much about it, but I hear it said it was muffled. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of dead to me.
It's
Yeah.
smothered, dead, muffled, and especially it's jarring when I was listening to From Me to You just before it, and listening to all the tracks before. Like, oh man. Now I know they don't have the masters and all that, but I think She Loves You has sounded more clean on past releases. I've heard
Yeah, I
it
agree.
cleaner than
I
that.
agree. I agree.
So a real missed opportunity, I think, with
Yeah.
that
I
for
mean, to
that.
me, I was listening recently to the stereo, and I did stereo and mono Beatles for sale. And to me, the stereo is so much better. Like No Reply and I'm a Loser. That's like one of the greatest two Lennon songs opening on any
Hmm.
record. His voice is great. It's haunting. And I would have preferred that No Reply. I think that was really underrepresented that album.
Yeah, yeah, Beatles for sale. I'm going to mention. Well, before remind me about 8 Days a Week because I may forget. Uh, is it true that I Am the Walrus ending is a completely different radio broadcast though from the original? I'm hearing these rumors too. I don't know, but man, some of it is different. Some of it we never heard before like that. And I still say I don't know if it's possible to do this, but it was a possible because they said there was a problem demixing that ending the radio. Could you just do the 95% of the song in the new process and leave the tack on the radio the old way?
They
And
could they could do anything. They
yeah, they could do
could.
anything. They should have done that, and I don't think anybody'd
Yeah.
mind.
My guess is that whoever did it, whether it was an engineer like Jeff Emmerich or whether it was George Martin or whoever, taped all this BBC stuff, right? And
Mhm.
taped a bunch of the play and all this stuff. And let's say you have 10 minutes of that, and you take the piece out. So maybe those were on tapes on the tapes at Abbey Road. And this time he just used a different segment and brought it up. It might have been there to begin with, but not on the actual version they released. I don't think it was buried there, but they just took a different segment of it. Maybe that's
Yeah,
what my
yeah.
guess would
I
be.
don't think it's new. I don't think it's like they got new out of left
No,
field. It probably was there, but just wasn't brought up.
well, they have.
But
I'm sure they have access to the BBC archive, but I don't think he would take the time to go back in the BBC archive and find something new. It was probably somewhere on a tape there.
because to me, it's again new people that listen. I've never heard it. I Am the Walrus before. Aren't going to know the difference. But if anybody that's had it burned into their skull for 50 or 60 years, whatever it's been, um, to me, that's just the ending and all that stuff, the interplay and the chatter and all that is just as much part of the lyrics of the song as anything else. And it goes along the way you used to hearing it, almost on beat. And it's like, you change the song,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Let's see
But
what else.
can I mention 8 days a week for a minute? I want to say
All right.
something about this. Now, people are going to get bored because I always say this. When I listen to, I don't know how many people remember this unless they play it again. Anthology 1, and they did 8 days a week, and they were outtakes. Ringo's drums hit me because they're really, he's doing some interesting fills, and I call them rolls, and things like that. And I never hear them on the single, like the U.S. single. I never of 8 days a week. I never hear them really much on Beatles for Sale. But I'm so glad that to my ears they were brought up a little bit. And it's usually, during that point where they're going to say, 8 days a week, I love you, and then it goes 8 days a week. It's really pronounced because I never, and all you really hear is, the cymbals kind of sound, but I hear more drums in this than I did. But on the outtakes, I mean, if you ever listen to them, he's really cooking on the drums. I think, to my
What's
ears,
fun
Ringo.
about a conversation with you or anyone else like this, now I'll go back and listen to it and listen for that because you don't notice.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, there's
yeah.
so much here. Think about it. Six LPs worth,
Yes.
between the two. I am a little disappointed. I mean, I'm a vinyl and a CD guy, but I'm mostly a vinyl guy when I listen. Um, and I think it was lazy, and I heard it was an added thing. As you know, on the LP version, they add all the newer or the tracks they didn't put on before on one disc on the
Yeah,
end.
which I hate.
With the CD, at least they're in chronological order. And I
Yeah,
didn't think that was going to bother me until I
yeah,
listened to it straight through on vinyl.
yeah. You
And it
did.
just you're going in a certain order and you expect it on this particular comp. I mean, I love mixing up Beatles songs
Yeah.
if I have a CD random, but it seemed lazy to me. I heard it was an afterthought that they were going to add this
More
third
so.
disc. And when you're
Yeah.
cutting these lacquers, when you're making vinyl, but they could have stopped and started over again. It's not that seems lazy to me.
Yeah, I grew up with the Swan 45 for sure, and I love the way it sounds. I mean, I played one the other day. It was not state of the art sound, of course, or anything, but it's great. And you don't hear those annoying edits so much in that. And I also thought the edits were missing. Like they were quieted. I couldn't pick up the edits as in the new one at least as much as I could. Now, when you listen to past masters or something like that, it's really clear, but you can hear every one of those changes to me, cuts or whatever they did.
Hey, back back Connor beer. I don't know how to pronounce
Yeah,
your name there.
was it back bacon and beer?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, see, it's too early. It's 6
Yeah,
o'clock in
well,
the
it took me
morning.
a long time to get that too.
Um, you're probably talking about the CD because the mono releases in 2013, 14 were available individually on vinyl. You could buy them all. And in fact, all those mono records and the box sets were available for 4 years and they went down in price. And all of a sudden, I mean, I know there's a new generation. A lot of people weren't into vinyl 10 years ago. That's why that vinyl box set goes for $1,500 or more now. I think they should do the mono box again. Just take the book out, make it cheaper. You don't need the book for most people, and just
Mm.
keep those in print.
I sold mine, which
I,
was I don't know. I needed money. I sold it,
I get it. I get it.
and it was stupid because now, and I sold it before it was a fortune. Now it's a
It's great.
fortune.
It can go from like $1,200 to $2,000.
You know. Now, hey Bulldog, we agree that it's better, much better on the song track,
Oh, I think
1999.
everything's better on the
Yeah,
soundtrack
yeah.
of those songs.
I think it's improved on the blue from the original release, but I still like the song track better
Yeah.
of it.
It's funny. I'm not even really a big fan of Old Brown Shoe. I mean, it's not one of my favorite.
Yeah, I am. I am now. That was one of the ones as a younger person. I was like, I didn't care about that. But now I do like it. I like the bass so much in it. But this new issue is ridiculous with the bass. The bass is really insanely
On a
loud.
couple of tracks, yeah. But I tried to make that point in my videos that everyone's got a different stereo or whatever, however those things. So sometimes bass will be more pronounced or less, or we have different tastes, different ears. When you're old, the highs get cut off. Like, I think I have good hearing, but I'm sure my highs get cut off now at my age.
Uh,
Um, and everyone's, some people like, a lot of people like on their old stereos that loudness button to pump it up.
yes, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So it's subjective, you know.
And Old Brown Shoe. Well, you say how was it ever sound good? How was that thing a B-side?
Well,
Again, that's band dynamics, keeping George happy.
it's a
Well, if
it's a B.
anything,
I mean, it is a B-side single. It's the
yeah,
perfect.
it is.
The Beatles were the thing about the Beatles is they were so lucky because their B-sides were better than most people A-sides
Yeah,
usually.
a lot of times it's double A sides with the
Yeah,
Beatles,
exactly.
but I think Old Brown Shoe was perfect as a B side.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you know. Yeah, I love 8 Days a Week. I do. I mean, okay, it's a little silly and everything. And John didn't like it. John didn't like a lot of things. He said, but
He wanted
but
to record all the Beatles songs again.
yeah,
I mean, he was joking, but you know.
yeah. Let's see. I know I missed a lot of comments. Probably did. The hi hat tambourine in my life is mixed too high. Um, I don't know. It's also funny about like in my life. Um, I don't. I love the song, but I don't like it being too bombastic. There are places. I don't. I like it being a little more easygoing and softer.
One of my personal favorites, I know it's not everyone's favorite, but I love Girl. I love John's vocal in Girl.
Uh-huh.
And every time I hear it now, I think back to when the CDs first came out in 88, I guess, or 87, whatever it was.
Mhm.
And the way those were mixed, that, when he goes, "Oh, girl," that
Yeah.
part, it was way too loud on those CDs. And the first version on here is a little louder than it should be to me. I think when they make that too much, it's overbearing. It's not as bad as the 87 CDs, but
Yeah.
a little loud the first
I
they
thought so
do.
too. Now that you mention it, and I wasn't knocked out by Girl on this. I don't know why in my life. I don't know. And If I Needed Someone, I'm the only guy that didn't like the new If I Needed Someone. It's a totally subjective choice. I just feel like that's another song. I kind of like that being a little more, a little slightly mellowy, laid back. I don't need that really loud with a lot of chugging guitars on that. I like it
Yeah.
kind of being a little more easy listening kind of song. I don't know. Yeah, well, as a guitar player, George's Old Brown Shoe is arguably his greatest solo. Very Charlie Christian. Somebody again, I couldn't pick up on it, but people told me there's two guitars missing from Old Brown Shoe.
I did notice that. I didn't
I
notice that.
didn't notice it, but people have said it. So,
So next year, I guess, which is just conjecture, but Rubber Soul,
mhm,
Mind Games.
yeah.
I would guess All Things Must Pass. I mean,
No, don't say
Material
that.
World. Material World.
Material World. What
I
happened
agree.
this
I
year?
listened to you the other day, and you were right. I can't believe they didn't do a Ringo anniversary
Oh, that's really a
because
heartbreaker. It
that's
really
his
is.
best album. In fact, that's a top 5 Beatles solo record.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody gets into, well, who's it going to sell that much? Look, it would. And I also thought, in a way, if you want to talk about marketing and cash grab, which we hate hearing that, you could bounce off the success of Now and Then with that and play it up as like the Beatles reunion album, or was kind of like play up on the idea that you had all the Beatles on there on different things, but they all appear on there. You might be able to bounce off the success of Now and Then as well. That deserve if only one deserves it, it's that
And they don't
album.
have to do a 6 CD box set for him, but they didn't do
No,
something special. And because isn't that the only one? I mean, they put out like what, Ringo the Fourth and Bad Boy and all this other
yeah, yeah.
shit.
Well, I wonder if that's because of who owns that or what. I don't know.
Right, right, right.
Friday Music, whatever it is, or has access to it. I mean, you have umpteenth copies of Ringo the
Or
Fourth.
do
It's insane.
I was going to say a cap. Weren't they thinking about doing a Capitol CD box set at one point?
Yeah, I heard of that. I don't. How do you feel? 'Cause you like me. You grew up with those and you like those. So I'm wondering. In a way, part of me says no, don't do that because I want to kind of have the old ones are like kind of like relics.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
I'm one that likes Buku's of Blues, and to
Yeah.
me, as much as all this Ringo coming out, these EPs and stuff, I just get tired of Liverpool, peace and love, Liverpool, peace and love when I was a
Yes.
kid,
Yes.
and that one that I'm actually excited about. T-Bone Burnett recorded stuff with him, which will be on the next EP apparently,
Yeah. Going to be country. Yeah.
and I think he loves country, and T-Bone doesn't just do straight country stuff. I mean, he's produced Elvis Costello and the Old Brother Where Art Thou soundtrack and really great records. And I think that's a good choice for Ringo. Maybe bring in some different musicians that are acoustic based, and I think it could be good. Like What Goes On and
Mhm.
what do you call it? I don't want to. What's the Act Naturally?
Act
I
Naturally.
mean, he loved that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and people have wanted a country album for Ringo for a long time, and I think you might have been able to do something for the country market, if they even had put some country music out.
Yeah, I mean, we call it Americana these days on on these new bands and new artists like Wilco and those kind of bands, and it could fit right in there with people who like that kind of music too. If it's
Mhm.
a serious record.
Yeah, and the Ringo album though is great. It's got hits on. I mean, it's not all about the hits. I understand that, but you did have like two number one hits on. I think two number one Photograph and Your 16.
And then Oh My was a top
Oh
10 hit.
My was a hit. Right there, there's three big hits on
He
it.
had more singles, top 10 singles than any of the solo Beatles up to that time. It was
Yeah.
bizarre.
Don't
Yeah.
forget that I think it was a telegram or a letter that John Lennon wrote to Ringo. Congratulations. How dare you? And please write me a number one song. I love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but and I don't know why there was no living in the material world for the 50th anniversary and this year. I don't understand that either.
There's gonna
There's gotta be. Oh, so you're on the inside.
You don't hear it from me.
No, no, okay. No, I appreciate that. No, because yeah, you can't really. I mean, I hear things too a lot from people.
According to sources.
Okay, well that's good. Like I say, I think we've gotten too hung up on this anniversary date thing. It's the 50th, oh, it's the 40th, 5th, or whatever the hell it is, 60th. But on that note, though, I do find, I said this earlier in my chat, I would find it very surprising if A Hard Day's Night, gets overlooked for the 60th. I mean, it's going
Oh,
to be
right, right,
64. I mean,
right.
64 to 2024. I mean, do Rubber Soul instead of Hard Day. I mean, I want Rubber Soul, but
And of course, from an American point of view, I mean, 1964 is it for
yeah,
it changed it. This country changed in 1964 dramatically after Kennedy and the Beatles and the British invasion. I mean, it changed our lives. I mean,
mm,
whoever was around then. So all the Dexter album, the Dexterization albums.
yeah, which he's a hero as far as I'm concerned.
I was on one of these forums talking about that, and I mean, people like to trash him now, and I get that
Sure,
because
I get it too.
it's not the way the Beatles intended. However, the majority of people on this planet heard those Dexter versions more than
Yeah,
any because
yeah,
they
yeah.
just only because they sold more in the U.S. Than anywhere else. And I remember I didn't hear any like UK records probably till '67. And after when I first heard the two songs, especially "I Feel Fine" and "She's a Woman," the UK version, it shocked me because the originals, I mean, the American versions have so much reverb, and I kind of like "I Feel Fine" reverb and the "She's a Woman" reverb. Hearing them really dry was really bizarre to me at first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably 10 years left. Probably around 77 was the first time I got a hold of a lot of those things, and I was like, I listened to it, and I'm like, wow, man. I mean, at first I did like the fact that they're cleaner, but eventually I went back to the Beatles 65 Capital stuff because we've talked about this so many times. It just sounds more ballsy. It sounds more, I don't know, echoey, more rock and roll. It just sounds tougher, not so sterile.
Yeah.
I liked it much better that way. What can I say?
Yeah. No, your ears get used to something, and
Yeah,
so I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, I could, bitch. We could argue about these, but of course, when you hear something for 50 years, of course, you're gonna be a little bit of a shock at first.
yeah,
Sometimes it's interesting just because it's different, but it's like I said in that video. When I was a kid, we didn't really think about different mix. We didn't. I don't think we knew what mixes were. But when all of a sudden, when I heard Rubber Soul Stereo American, there's that false intro, and I like that was like so exciting. Hear that false intro that
yeah.
Capitol forgot to cut off on the stereo version.
Mm. And what about the One thing about the Capitol albums too, like you were saying, I agree. a lot of people grew up with that, and people think, and I went through a phase when I was in my teenage years when I thought, oh, Yesterday and Today, that's not a real album. The Beatles' second album, that's not a real album. I was getting into the what the Beatles intended phase, and now it's like, but those things were people grew up with them in the states. That was every much a part as the soundtrack to their '60s, and part of the pop culture in the U.S. as the UK albums were in the
Yeah.
UK, right?
I mean, you could say like Beatles oldies and Hey Jude aren't real then too, I guess, you know.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, you could say that. But I've never been big on a collection of Beatles oldies. I hate the damn cover with a passion. I just hate that cover.
Well, there's
And Bad Boy's the only reason back then you wanted it because Bad
there's a
Boy's
cool
on there.
book. You know Dave Marsh, who wrote for
Oh,
Rolling
the
Stone,
Beatles' second album
the
book.
Beatles' second album. It's like a little essay,
Yeah,
and he writes about how the Beatles' second album is probably their best quote rock and roll record, and
I
it's
agree.
great. It's all rocking.
Yeah, when people ask me what my favorite album is by the Beatles, I say the Beatles' second album. I say that's my favorite album of
And
all
they think
time.
you're crazy.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people say what you said. Dave Marsh says a lot of them feel that it's rock. But this is comments been up here. I got to look. Hey, do you ever think they'll start releasing solo Beatles mixed song compilations? Imagine, maybe I'm amazed. I'm surprised they haven't done it yet. To tell
You
you the
know,
truth.
my friend David, who I did the Beatles England book with, he lives
Yeah.
in Massachusetts. About 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago now, we did we both made this CD comp, and he designed covers for it, and it's called Rubber Solo.
Mm,
And it's basically solo thing. It's like I think we started at 2 discs, and the court expanded to 6 discs, and we alternate. We make a Beatles album of the best solo stuff, and it plays and it flows really well. It's really fun. That would be kind of a fun thing.
I think so. I
Yeah,
agree with you. Oh,
if
there
they
you
could
go.
do it for the Capitol stuff, I guess, or they can't do everything, but
Later on, you get into problems with the companies,
right.
record labels. You get, but early on, I think, yeah. But as you're welcome here anytime. This is great. I love it.
It's too early for me. Usually, I'm on the West
Well,
Coast,
we
so
could do some things later. We could do them later. We could make a little
I
series
pop
going.
in everywhere at some point. So
This is interesting. I thought of this as well. Ringo may be the only Beatle with two number ones on one album.
wow.
That's an interesting trivia bit. Fun fact. You know. There you go. Somebody's hoping. Well, of course, if they came out, they'd be pristine looking. And they got. And please use. Are they going to use the original mixes? Capital mixes? I don't have no need for that 2014 CD
They did
box.
that stupid box set. The first ones they
Yeah,
did where they did some of the records, it
yeah,
was right, but then they did that US
yeah,
capitals, but they used the wrong mixes.
yeah, yeah. They did that deliberately, and I didn't like that.
They just
But
put them in order of the UK mixes. That doesn't make
I
any
did
sense.
something for that Mazzy that I never do. I don't usually mess around with Frankensteining packaging. What I did was the sleeves in that 2014 box were better than the original earlier
Oh,
Capitals things were. They were bigger and they were clear. So I took the discs from the original set that you're talking about, the first set of Capital, put the discs in the 2014 box sleeves, and I kept to put them all in that box with the American flag. So I have them all that way. And then I subsequently, I'll be honest, folks, I did a bad thing. I sold the original. What is it? The original long box ones, or
oh.
I sold with the 2014 discs in there. I sold them to some store.
You know what they should have done too with the revolver box? I mean, and they never would have done it, but I think Capitol at one point, Universal, they should have put Yesterday and Today with the butcher cover in there, because they've done the butcher
Mm,
cover inside. They've never had the balls to put it back on the cover and do a reissue of it. And that would have been a fun extra thing in Revolver, because those songs kind of cross over there
mm.
a little bit around that time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, we're on 90 minutes. It's past my 9 o'clock. You're supposed to get off. But see, things really start picking up around 9 a.m. Eastern time. That's when things start picking up here. And now we got 108 people, which is cool. So I thank everybody for that.
It's
Um,
hard getting up. I mean, I'm on the West Coast and I get up early, but I don't usually like to. This is early for
well,
me.
yeah, I've got, as you know, I've gotten into this routine of coming on here early every morning. Suddenly, the last week or two, whatever it's
You
been.
get on at 7 o'clock. That's different, right?
Yeah, yeah, 7:30 Eastern. But the thing is, I do nighttime, I do afternoon, I do a lot of times. But this thing, for some reason, I've started doing this cup of Joe thing, which I think now we got ice water in here. Mm, it's all honey. The honey goes
You
to the
need one of
bottom.
those little heating things you stick
Yep,
plug in
you
there.
both said they get one of those
You
things.
need these people to go fund you and buy you a gift, like a heated
Go
gift.
fund me. Yeah,
Go fund Joe Mayo.
yeah.
Support Joe Mayo.
Where's all the
You like
funds?
this content? Give a donation.
Yeah, they do. People do that. They're very nice at times. It's not required. It's not required. But
No,
hey, what the hell?
it's
I
a
love them.
tip jar.
It's a tip jar. Tip jar.
Don't buy a $5 cappuccino at Starbucks today. Donate to Joe Mayo
That's a
instead.
way of looking at it. If you like this
Right?
content,
Right?
you know, tip jar. So I wonder if sometimes I wonder if the comments like there's something wrong. Sometimes you don't get new comments here.
You're in Stream. Sometimes StreamYard locks up and it gets delayed. I've had that happen.
Yeah, like it says. Oh, there we go. Okay, Penny Lane, you're in my ears. You're in my eyes. It's great to have you here, Penny Lane, while I'm relaxing.
You know what
It's
I like
always good.
about Joe? I'm talking to your audience now, and I feel the same way. There are a lot of Beatle people. Obviously, all these people watching, most of them are Beatle people. But Joe and I, sometimes we're not afraid to criticize, not just for the sake
Yes,
of
yes.
criticizing, but the Beatles, as amazing as they are, and of course, if in 1970 it was hard to criticize a lot of stuff, but since then there's a lot of stuff you could say you don't like this solo record or that or this, like Broad Street, for instance. You have to be able to constructively talk about stuff, and in a negative way sometimes.
I agree, and that's one of the things I pride myself on. Different channels are different. I have people all the time. What kind of fan are you? You're always coming down on this Paul or George or whatever, and it's like, well, I tell you what I like and what I don't like. I was just thinking how beautiful that guitar solo is on "And I Love Her." I love George's guitar playing on "And I Love Her."
Yeah.
But then sometimes I may not like something else, and that's what you do. I mean, I don't understand the rah 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 all the time. Everything's got to be positive, and the shilling it, the seemingly, apparently, maybe may not be, shilling for companies. Some people do. I mean, I see people get on. Everything's great. Everything's, uh, you know, and well, I don't really didn't care for this one as much as the other one, or they sugarcoated a little bit. Um, I
Well, I
don't know.
think I agree with you because I mean I got the was it "Give Me Some Truth" or I forgot which Lennon box. I got
You know.
John and Yoko like you did or sent us some stuff, and some of the remixes I liked and some I think didn't work. And I said that. I know you got a response from Sean.
Yeah, that
They,
was to
they
give me some
ignored me
truth one.
after that,
Yeah,
but I liked it. But there were some things I thought were wrong off.
no,
You
because
know.
he said he liked. I mean, when he told me, through text, I didn't talk to him. We just texted a little bit, and he said that because he said, "Boy, that Mr. Mayo. Who is this Mr. Mayo? How can I get in touch with him? He's got a great set of ears. Doesn't miss a thing." Well, I was like, I love that. So he said, I'd like to thank him. So finally, I got together with him a little bit. We had just a few exchanges, and he said, I appreciate that you didn't just say you love everything, and you were able to let me know what you didn't like. And I think, he's becoming involved in how these things sound and what they
Yeah.
do. And the horns, what I really hated was one of my favorite Lennon songs of all time is Steel and Glass. And I really hated that they took the brass off that. And I'm like, I said, I think it was mostly his decision, I think, to do that.
Well, one thing I think I applaud Sean. It's mostly Sean. Maybe Yoko's probably not involved anymore. It hasn't been for a while. But the best thing also about one of the best things about the Lennon reissues, the physical boxes are identical. And I can't
Yes,
believe the stupidest thing with the Beatles anniversary editions are all different sizes.
yeah, I
That
hate
is
that. Hate it.
that is BS. I mean, the McCartney archives are close. They're a
Mm,
little different, but they're
mm.
closer. But the Lennon ones are that perfect. They're not too big. They got a lot of extra stuff. I love the elemental mixes. I love the dry, just the flat transfers. I love those. Those are so good. Yeah, mind games. We talked about that, Robbie.
Yeah, and I'm a stickler for. It's a thing with me with uniformity. I just love uniformity like that, where I can get it. I like things to look the same. Sometimes it freaks me out. I'm like, oh no, 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 no. I that different sizes, kind of thing. That's why I don't like. I don't. I'm not a fan of digipacks. I like the jewel cases on CDs, but some people like the. I don't know how you feel about that. The cardboard. You like the cardboard or the jewel
Yeah,
case?
I do. I think when compact discs started, and they were in long boxes and the jewel cases are too thick. So as compact as they are, they take like they're twice as thick as an LP. So shelf
Mm.
wide, they're wider, and they crack, they break. So I wish they
Yeah,
would be just like those Japanese limited edition LP covers. Those are what I like.
I can't argue with you about the thickness of it, but I will say, I always say, I mean, I've had CDs since the beginning, and I mean, can count on one hand at a thousands which ones are cracked. But of course, it's an old thing people say. You can always replace them. That's what I like. You can always buy
Yeah,
a plastic case and put the artwork inside the new case. So yeah, but yeah, it's not my thing. But mostly, also when they're on the shelves, they're mixed. You got
yeah.
see, they're not uniform. It drives me nuts. You got the jewel cases and the cardboard. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so I really, yeah, Mazzy was, yeah, we're talking about this. It's June 24th. Okay, that's the magic date. Oh wow.
6 CDs, 2 Blu-rays. I don't know
Yeah,
the
yeah,
contents, but they're going to do like before. They're going to do the mixes, the element mixes, the works in progress, probably,
yeah.
maybe some outtakes. I don't know if there are any other songs though. I don't know. I mean, whatever singles came out around that time. I'm trying to think. Are there singles from non-albums around that period? I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, say that part again.
Are there any singles around my Mind Games period that were non
Hold on.
albums?
Hold on a minute.
I don't think so. Welcome to the Joe Mayo Show. I'm not Joe Mayo. Oh,
So you were saying, were there any singles from Mind Games that
because
weren't?
like early on, the earlier ones you could put on Instant Karma and Power to the People, but now what singles around my games? I don't think there were aside from the record, the albums. I can't think right now.
No, me either. I don't think so. I'm trying to rack my brain. Uh, I don't think there was nothing from there, right? Or what about? I'll move over. Mizell was a B side, but for Stand by Me, but I think that was around the. Was that around the Mind Games or
Well,
something
that
there,
was
or Rock
around
and
the
Roll?
rock and roll. Yeah.
Rock and Roll. Yeah, okay. That's why I
I
was.
hope when they eventually do rock and roll, they make it sound better because that album,
Well,
you
have
know,
you heard that CD that sounds better? What they did, what they had a CD. Oh, you never got that CD?
what
I
year
don't
is it? A bootleg?
no, I don't know. Both Mind Games and Rock and Roll.
Oh, I
Rock
do
and
have that. Yeah.
I
Okay.
forget what it was.
Well, Mind Game sounds so much better on that CD,
Yeah,
but I forgot.
2000. I talk about mixes. I love Mind Games.
Yeah,
The
I do
song,
have that. I do have those. I do have
but
those.
even but the title track, I love that. Even on that though, I got to say this. So I want to say Wurlitzer. I don't know. Instrument is whirling sound of an organ, like swirls around in that mix, which you never heard on the radio or
Yeah.
in the regular single, and I'm like that almost takes me out of it a little bit. It's like just weird how
Yeah,
you.
exactly. Okay, Mind Games makes it, so that's already there. There's no extra singles at that time.
No, I don't think so.
Right. I didn't think so either.
Yeah, the B side, the album of Meat City and the B side are different. Do you guys own the old box set from the early '90s, the black box? I don't have it. I'm guessing.
Which black which black box? By who? By the Beatles or the
Yeah,
I
I'm
out of
assuming so.
context, I don't know what you're talking about. Black box. What black box?
And
I have a UK black mono LP box. Was that 80s, I think? That was the early 80s.
yeah, it gets crazy with that stuff. Boy, it
Yeah.
really does. But yeah, the part that garbled part of Meat City, where it's the funny sound.
I heard that one of the extra Blu-rays is gonna have, like, every version of Utopian Anthem.
Yeah, a whole CD dedicated to that. You play them backwards. That little part, whatever he's mumbling. There's like a little gremlin sound or whatever. I forget what it says. I've heard this a bunch of times, but I can't retain it. One of them says check the album or something. I think one of them, if you the single, maybe if you play it backwards, it says check the album. Somebody will know this. If you play that little whatever it is, it says check the album or something. And then I think the other one says pigs or something like that about pigs on the album. I don't know. You have to remind me
Hmm. I don't
because
remember.
somebody will know. But yeah, I can't stay on much longer. This is going great, but I
Okay.
can't stay on much
Rob,
longer.
yes, I'm up early too, and you're in Portland. My son's in Portland, so I go down there occasionally.
Yeah, too bad you can't get up early more often. But then again,
Every once in a while, I'll pop in, but
I mean, it's
yeah,
really early though. That's really
it
early.
is.
All right, I'm gonna have to go now, folks. This was really taking off. I want to thank you very much,
Thanks for the
Mazzy.
invite. Thanks for waking me up.
This is Norman Maslov, Mazzy's channel, and thank you for being here. And don't forget, I was debating whether I should get that or not, and
$6. I
I
mean,
just
you know,
may.
it's like
Oh, yeah, it's a
one
no-brainer.
coffee at Starbucks.
Well, that is cool. Even just to display it is cool. Have it
It's
the
it is
cover
kind of
display.
silly, but you know what's even funnier? If you look on the back of other volumes, there's a Dolly Parton one, there's a Bruce
Oh,
Springsteen one.
oh,
Look at that.
Julie Andrews. Wow, yeah,
They're brainwashing the new generation to buy these little
yeah.
books, you know. Beyonce?
Oh, Beyonce. Is there a Taylor Swift one?
Not yet, but
Oh,
oh,
okay.
there is. There
Oh, there
is.
is. Oh, oh, there you go. Yeah,
There you go.
the first one they put out probably.
Exactly. There's little pokey, little puppy, or whatever. The Bee Gees.
Bee Gees. I know Jill will be happy. J.D. Thompson. All right,
Right.
Mazzy. All right,
Take care.
everybody. Thank you all. Ending the stream now. See ya. Cheers.